Sorry ass DJ.
Hey everybody, how you doing out there? And welcome back to my continuation of ranking the big three. I am on the part 7's right now. Now when it comes to the part 7's for me, and I've said this in some previous entries in this series here, my number 3 and my number 2 are kind of in between disappointing to just being okay. But my number 1, I love the hell out of that one there. But I would be kind of curious what you guys think of the part 7's. If you love all of them, hate all of them, is there kind of a mixture of what you like and dislike there? And how would you rank the part 7's here? Give me a comment down below and we shall discuss it. Let's get ourselves started. Number 3, the worst of the worst, is got to be Friday the 13th, part 7, The New Blood. Now what I like about this is this is the first time Ken Halter plays Jason Voorhees, and he does a great job. I like the look of Jason, especially there's a scene in there pretty early in the film where Jason is walking out of the lake and they show his back and bones are sticking out of his body, and that looks fucking fantastic. I definitely do like the makeup job. Again, we're talking about the back, but when they finally reveal what is behind that hockey mask, I think that's definitely one of the better makeup jobs of what Jason would actually look like there. There's a character named Nick that I feel like that he's at least trying his best as an actor in here. And then there are people out there that would say that this Friday the 13th movie is watered down. This could be a PG-13 Friday the 13th movie. I can agree on those there, but when I hear people say that this is bloodless, I can't at all, because there are moments of gore, and there may not be a lot of gore in this, but it's satisfying enough for me, because you get something where Jason puts his fist through someone's body, and he has his hand and a little bit of his arm with some blood. There is a scene where he actually stabs someone with a knife, and the person has a knife wound on their body and a little bit of blood, some on the knife there. And there's other places that they do have some there. But on the flip side, when it comes to all the other characters, I'm not interested. I'm not engaged with any of the other characters, unfortunately, including Tina. None of them really have chemistry with each other there. Even like anybody who interacts with Nick is at least trying. The other people just feel like that they're just going in motion, but not really giving their all. You got the cutaway kills. And then any kind of little bit of death that you might get before, or if they show the aftermath, it's just a shell of the death. When you have Jason's death, I just thought that was really stupid. We're bringing back the dad, who should probably look as bad as Jason. It looks like he was just under the water for like 10 minutes and pulls Jason under the water by putting a chain around his neck. And then the final thing is that I kind of wish that they kind of continued having the cheesiness and the silliness like part 6, but they decided to go back and make this another serious Friday the 13th movie. Number 2 is going to be Wes Craven's New Nightmare. Now, what I like about this movie is I like the way that this movie starts off at the beginning here, kind of a tribute to the original Nightmare on Elm Street. The acting from most of the people here do a really, really good job here. And you got a lot of people who are playing themselves here. You got Heather Langenkamp in this, Robin England, John Saxon. I mean, you even got Wes Craven in like maybe 2 or 3 scenes here. You got Robert Shea, who was the producer of all of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. I think he might only be in like 1, maybe 2 scenes himself. You got this head nurse who does a fantastic job. No matter who she's interacting with, she does a really good job. I know there's a good, powerful scene with her and Heather Langenkamp about, have you had your son see your own movies? And I do kind of like what all goes on with that. You got the babysitter for Heather Langenkamp's child, which is really, really good. Freddy Krueger himself, the look of him is really, really awesome. I like the bone claws that we really get. He's very, very scary. Probably the first time since like part 3 was probably the last time I know that was a mixture of him being scary and humor Freddy. I think this was unique. I think that Wes Craven did direct this movie very, very well. On the flip side here, you do got some recyclable kills here, one from part 1 and one from part 5 here, which is kind of silly on that. I wish Wes Craven would have came up with his own unique ideas, because he can be creative if he really wants to be. Heather Langenkamp's son, I think, is Dylan, I believe. He kind of brings the movie down more than it really needs to be. I didn't care that much for the story. Didn't care that much for the script. I mean, I think the actors do the best that they actually can with the script. The special effects in this movie do not age really that well. And like the biggest thing is there's a scene where Dylan is running across the highway. At one point he actually looks up and there's Freddy Krueger on a cloud in the sky, and I'm just like, you know, it probably didn't even look good in 1994. And then the way that Freddy dies is definitely a Hansel and Gretel wannabe. And then the final thing is that the way that this movie ends, maybe like the last minute or two where Heather and her son actually defeat Freddy, they end up back in Dylan's room. Heather ends up spotting the new Nightmare screenplay, and she starts reading it out loud to her son. And it's pretty much that she starts off the way that the beginning of this movie goes, almost like a little bookend there, going full circle. And I was just like, oh man. It was just one of those things where maybe she was just giving her son hugs and kisses, and the camera pans out like it does in the movie and get your credits there. That would have actually been nice. And my number one is Halloween H2O. And what I like about this is you got Jamie Lee Curtis back, and she does a good job. And you know, all the stress and everything that happened to her in those first two movies, they bring over this here, and you know, trying to take the best control that she can. And unfortunately, she's taking pills. She's an alcoholic in this here, but she's very, very believable. She also has to try to be a protector for her son, John, which is played by Josh Hartnett, who this is his first movie. He does a good job in this here. You got Joseph Gordon-Levitt, has a small part at the beginning of the movie. He is actually fun to watch. You actually got Janet Leigh, which is actually Jamie Lee Curtis's mother, and she does a good job. And I know that she was in a couple other movies with her daughter, and I think even one TV show, but this is always what I remember her from there. And even though she's not in it that much, she's another character. Like, hey, there's Janet Leigh. That's awesome. You know, she goes from Psycho with Norman Bates to a small part in the Michael Myers movie there, so that's always awesome. I love the story. I love the script. I thought this was directed really well. This is directed by Steve Miner, who brought Friday the 13th, Part 2 and Part 3, and I love both those movies, and I love this movie. So kind of going from two Jason movies later on to a Michael Myers movie, I thought was really awesome. The whole Act 3 is what I love. I think this is the best Act 3 through this entire Halloween franchise. From whenever Laurie's like, I have to be strong for myself, I gotta be brave, I gotta protect my son. And as soon as she grabs this axe, all the way until she uses it against Michael Myers and chops off his head, is so good. On the flip side, talking about some more characters, you got LL Cool J, who I like as an actor. I even like him as a singer. He's a security guard at this private school, but he does not have a whole lot to do. I mean, most of the time we see him on the phone. He's talking to a woman. I'm not too sure if it's his girlfriend, fiance, or his wife. And he's like, I want to be an author. I want to write thrillers. I want to write books. And of course, she's like, hey, you know, we got to be more realistic. We have a baby on the way. I just wish he had more to do. You got Michael Myers, and I'm kind of 50-50 on this here, because on the good side of Michael Myers, I do kind of like that what he's focused on is going after his sister again. I don't even know if he even knows that he has a nephew, but he wants to go after his sister once again there, and he's trying to be very smart about that. So I do kind of like that. But on the flip side, the big thing is there's not a lot of dead bodies in this movie here, so it's like it mostly kind of goes into Act 3, so I'm like, there could have been at least another 2-3 dead bodies on the way, and it was like, no, they didn't end up going that way, which actually sucked there. Talking about the kills and the deaths, there is some gory kills in this, but overall they're more bland, they're more plain. There's like one or two that I thought were pretty unique. Also with Michael Myers, I want to mention the CGI mask. What a horrible mask. There's like 4 different masks in this movie, but that like one quick scene really does hurt the movie, even just a little bit for me there. You got Michelle Williams, who is a good actress. I've seen her in other movies and TV shows that she does really well. This, it just felt like that she didn't give that much effort to it, which was horrible, because I thought she could have done so much better in this. So there you folks go. There was my ranking of the big 3 Part 7s. Hopefully you enjoyed them, and I will see you guys for the Part 8s whenever I can. Have yourselves a good one. Bye.